All right, you guys, welcome Matt Kruger.
Okay, so I have the story I like to tell. It's not quite as sad as the last two, but it's something that I will probably always remember, and I don't really know why. Okay, so I'll start off by saying I can remember back when I was almost 2. I wasn't quite 2 years old, and I remember going on bike rides all the time with my family. And my mom would always put me in the back of her bike because she had this car seat that went on the back of her bike, and I rode around as a little toddler with all my family. And I really liked this. And there was one day when my mom was like, "You better finish your corn or we won't go on a bike ride." And I was about the same age, like 4 years old. And I hated corn, and I still hate corn, really. But so I fed it to my dog, and I was like, "Here you go, Fred," or Max. It was Max at the time, and he ate it, and I was like, "Oh, we can go." And I don't remember going on a bike ride that day, but I can remember at that moment going on bike rides in the past. I can't remember those times specifically, but I can remember saying, "Oh, this will be fun," like that one time we went on a bike ride, and I would have been like 2 at the time or something like that, remembering those times. So I don't really remember, but it's really special that I can remember those because that's probably one of my first memories I developed. And so I can remember every bicycle or trike I've had over the years. I've had 2 trikes and 4 different bicycles. And the bicycle I had before my last one was my first true mountain bike. And what I mean by this is it cost a lot of money, and it came from a specialty bike store, so it wasn't a Walmart bike. And so I really cherished this bike, and I got things like a speedometer and a holder for my water bottle and stuff. But at the end of its life, it had about 800 miles on it, 800 plus, and being an elementary school, middle school kid, that's probably 80,000 miles in a car, which is it's a lot. So I had a lot of fun times in that bike. But I outgrew it in 8th grade and got a new one. But there was one day, it was a Friday after school, and I didn't have anything to do, so I decided to go on a bike ride. And bike rides at that point in time didn't include any off-road riding because my parents weren't into that kind of thing, and I was a middle schooler, so I couldn't really do anything about it. So I went around my neighborhood, and I wanted for that bike ride to last long, so I decided I'd visit every street in my neighborhood. All the dead-end streets, go to the older parts, go to the newer parts, and all of that. And so I was riding, I went to this one part of the neighborhood, and I came up to this group of girls consisting of Marita, Lauren, Casey, Stella, Nicole, Vasta, a couple other people I don't remember were there. They were sleeping over at Nils's or something like that. And they said hey, and I was like hey, and I kept riding, I didn't stop. I got to the part where the lake is at in my neighborhood.
Teachers, please pardon this interruption. At this time, please release all the juniors to the gym for testing. Again, all juniors, please report to the gym for testing. Thank you, and have a nice day.
And I got to the part of the neighborhood where the lake is at, but I didn't go down to the lake because I wanted to save that for the last part of my bike ride. But there are these 2 dogs, a German Shepherd and a Pit Bull, and they were barking, being loud and obnoxious, but they didn't notice me, and I looked over and I was riding by, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And so I kept riding, and I went on to a different part of the neighborhood. But then after I finished going down every place there, I decided to turn back and go towards the lake again. And so I got to the lake and was looking down because it kind of goes down a hill, and then there's a trail that goes around the lake. And the 2 dogs were sitting on the other side. One was roaming around, the other one was swimming. And so I noticed them, but I didn't take into notice that I should turn around or not do anything to them. But I kept riding. I went around, and I got up to about maybe 30 feet away, and they started barking at me. And I was like, oh, okay. And I got a little closer, and then I stopped, and I was like, okay, because the other one got out of the water and was barking at me too. And I was like, well, this is kind of bad. And so I turned around, and at that moment, they started sprinting at me as fast as they could. And I got scared, and I started pedaling away. And then about 5 seconds later, I'd turn around, but I don't really turn around. I look down, straight down, and the German Shepherd barking at my right foot. I'm like, oh crap! So I lift my head up and I pedal as fast as I could. In front of me there are two paths. There's the right path and the wrong path. And the right path goes back up to the neighborhood to paved streets where I could have outrun the dogs. But instead I chose the wrong path. The wrong path was a foot-wide trail through the woods. And so I went down that naturally. Because at that point I wasn't thinking straight at all. So I go down that trail, and about 500 yards after the beginning of the trail, there's a barbed wire fence right in front of me. So I lay down my bike, and I'm looking around what to do, and I don't know what to do. And so I realized, what are my options here? And I turn around, and I can hear the dogs behind me. They're not barking, their collars are jingling as they run, and that means they're really close. So at that point I knew I had to do something. Instead of throwing my bike over the barbed wire fence and then crawling under, I did one of those two things. I crawled under and left my bike there. And after I was clear of the barbed wire fence, I sprinted through the field in front of me. And it was about a quarter mile to the road that led out of my neighborhood. And when I got to that road, I turned around, and the dogs were barking, but they weren't chasing behind me. I guess they stopped at the barbed wire fence or something. So I figured I'd go home now, not go back and get my bike or anything. So I took off walking, and it was pretty uneventful, except for passing by that group of girls again, which probably thought I was really stupid or something. But it was all really a blur. But I got back to my house, and my mom was like, oh, hey, how was your bike ride? And I was like, Mom, this happened. And she was really pissed. She was like, well, you left your bike in the middle of the woods? I was like, yeah, there were dogs there. And she was like, I don't care, we're going back to get your bike. So we hopped in my dad's truck and drove down to the lake. And the dogs were there again. And I was like, oh, crap. And then my mom was in all her rage. She started screaming at the dogs. She was like, oh, you get out of here, you filthy animals. Started throwing things at them. They got scared, jumped in the water, swam off. We walked, got my bike, and hopped in my dad's truck again and went home. And every day I ride by there, and I think, wow, that was the greatest bike ride I've ever had.